hello, everybody. Hello, Richard, but mostly hello, everybody. We're going to give you 5 tips on how to start reading more because look at all these books.
I have learned a few things after reading the vast majority of these books and the other books behind that I wish I knew at the time.
That was your time to diss me, saying, like, Austin, you haven't read any of these. You've read, like, 2. And then I'm like, oh, yeah, you're right. So
yeah, I did that last time.
Okay.
I'm saving you on this take.
Of course, since I'm obviously the one that's read 2 books, I'm going to give you your first tip. Your first tip, and it makes sense coming from me, is don't finish books. And what I mean by that,
He's
Richie,
very good at that.
I don't appreciate that. But what I mean by that is don't finish books because you're not going to want to finish something you don't want to read. Like, look, this... Just if it's long, don't finish it. Except, do finish Way of Kings. Way of Kings is phenomenal. I did that just for the meme and whatnot. This is a great book.
Basically, follow our advice. That's the exception.
This is the exception. This is a great book. I'm so sorry I threw this.
Got it.
That is fine. But generally, don't finish books if you're not having a good time. If you're 50 pages in and you're like, wow, I don't like this character. I don't like this genre. Why am I reading this? I saw a recommendation online by Tutor Ramble. They suck, right? That's the whole thing you're getting. You're like, well, don't listen to Tutor Ramble. Go to the next book. You're not going to finish something you don't like. It seems pretty intuitive, but it's simple at the end of the day. It's like, yeah, okay, good, next. And then you'll start reading a lot more because then when you pick up a book, you're 50 pages in, you're loving it, it's a page turner, you'll be done with the book before you know it. That's
good
it.
Advice.
That's tip 1.
I wish I knew that earlier, way earlier.
Yeah. Well, but Richie, what's tip 2?
Tip number 2 is actually to change your environment. So what I mean is if your desk has your gaming computer on it, it's probably going to be very hard to read a book right in front of your gaming computer. It's difficult. If you normally watch YouTube in your bed, probably difficult to read a book in bed. So go to some place that you normally don't play video games or you're watching TV. Find some place neutral that isn't associated with those other habits.
This studio here would not be a good place to read.
Probably.
We usually record here. Don't read here. This is for aesthetics only, right?
Yeah, so find a place that you are neutral about and put away your distractions. So part of your environment is the devices around you. If people are around, busy, and ready to talk to you, that can be a distraction. Your TV, your phone in your pocket. So I like to leave my phone downstairs, and then I read upstairs, so that way I can't even hear it. And I try and find a place alone without anybody around me to bother me. Even sometimes, if it's a book I don't want to read, by the way, like I need to read it, but I don't really want to, I will actually read in public. So that way, you guys actually kind of keep me accountable. And I feel embarrassed having a book next to me and then being on my phone. It's like a little bit of a self-accountability I do sometimes. But your environment matters a lot. So change your environment if you're having trouble and getting distracted reading.
Great tip. I love that tip. You want to know tip 3?
What's tip number 3?
Tip 3 is start small. So if you see something like the Way of Kings, don't start with that. Except, this is the one exception. Way of Kings is also great. So even though it's a long book, you should start with Way of Kings if you want to. But generally, start small. Except
you keep throwing my book.
This is not my copy. I could care less about that copy. So Way of Kings is the exception to all the rules, but you should generally start small if you can. So a novella. A short book, if you're having a tough time getting back into reading, start with a 8-chapter, like All Systems Red is a great novella. Super small. And what I mean by start small as well is, hey, a long book like The Way of Kings, that's 1,000 pages, and a short book like All Systems Red, that's maybe 100 pages, they all start with page 1. That's what it comes down to is if you take baby steps, and yes, it's a little cliche, but baby steps, you take 1 chapter at a time. Before you know it, you're halfway through the book. So just give yourself a timetable of, hey, I'm going to read 1 chapter today. I'm going to read 1 paragraph. That's all you got to do is get yourself started. It's like the gym, right? So if you're going to start going to the gym when you make it a habit and routine, just drive yourself there. Even if you don't go into the gym, just drive there and stare at the sign. That's all. And then eventually, once you stare at that sign, maybe you'll take 2 steps in the door, walk out, and the next day you'll go ahead. That's it.
That actually ties into tip number 4, actually.
What's that? Yeah.
So just like the gym, and for the gym, it's great to have a gym buddy to motivate you and keep you accountable.
Yeah.
Same thing with reading. Get a reading buddy or a group that keeps you accountable, and now you have someone to talk to about the book that you're reading. So 1, it's motivation, so you have someone to talk to at the end of the day, and you have someone to keep you accountable.
What's a good group I could join, Richard?
Shameless plug. You could join the Tutor Ramble exclusive book club and movie watch party. We have linked below, where every month we actually go over a book and we all read together, comment, and during the whole reading process, and then we have a big, long discussion about the book. And do the similar thing for movies. You can join down below.
Besides that plug, it is a great tip if you want to go on about how great that tip is. Like, seriously, get a reading buddy, right?
Yeah, you could get a reading buddy. That's also free.
Yeah.
But yeah, off to tip number 5.
Tip number 5 is... Wait, we don't have a tip number 5.
Oh, I didn't tell you tip number 5. Tip number 5 is actually to ignore tips 1 and 3.
Those were my tips.
Yeah.
What? Okay, what? Where are you going with this? Richard? That's a lot of books. Richard, what is going on? Okay. Okay.
Ignore all other books. Read The Wheel of Time.
This has been Tutor Ramble. Thank you for the tips, Richard. Bye, everybody.